Hello, good evening. This is day 22 of The Woman Called You Do Over January. And that's where we've been, 31 days to declutter and deconstruct the mind to gain clarity. So today we'll be doing part two of how do I gain mental clarity. Day 21, we started with the part one. But like I always do, I try to just quickly, as a prelude, explain what the Woman Culture is all about. We're simply a platform of women who are committed, to inspiring change through personal growth. Like I always say, every day, you simply can't give what you don't have. So this 31 days do over January is just simply, to prepare ourselves for the year ahead, clearing our minds, decluttering our minds of all those things that would otherwise just, make our mental state all jumbled up. We've gone through quite a lot in the past 21 days, and my sincere desire is that somebody would have been able to take away something thus far. So today, for part two of how do I gain mental clarity, we'll just jump straight into it. Like I said, when I started talking about mental clarity, day 20, yes, I just let us know right out of the gate that you don't just expect clarity to happen for you magically. Like I said, if there's anybody watching who has, you know, a decent level of mental clarity, or you think when it comes to mental clarity, at least on a scale of 1 to 10, you're seeing yourself as an 8, 9, well, all good for you. So for people who are struggling with mental clarity, who lack mental clarity, this day 21 and day 22 just right up your alley, and I hope you can gain something out of it. So, like I said, you don't have to wait to get it, magically. You can't just expect it to enter into your life magically. You have to work towards it. You have to create, what you want. And that's what we'll be discussing today. We said quite a lot for day 21, your passion statements and all of that. You can always revisit it here on Facebook or on YouTube. So, one of the things we're going to be discussing today, as one of the ways you can gain mental clarity, you know, you must understand, like I've said over and over in the past couple of weeks, that you are responsible for your life. You must take full responsibility. And in this case, you must take full responsibility for creating clarity and taking every possible positive action for your life. And one of the things you need to do, I've been talking about toxicity over and over again. I'm sure I'm beginning to sound like a broken record. But the truth is, if you want to gain mental clarity, you must decide to begin to remove yourself from any external influences that pull you down and drain your energy. it is very, very important. You must decide that, you see, insofar as you've made up your mind to gain mental clarity, everything that causes you stress, everything that is toxic in all ramifications, you must get it out of your life. You must decide that, see, I don't want this thing. It can be abuse, it can be a habit, it can be a nuance, anything that you know, will pull you down and drain your energy. Some of us, it's even people. Some people can drain your energy. And if especially if you're that person who is always eager to please, always wanting to say yes to people, it can be draining. It can be draining, you know. And yesterday I talked about working on your daily goals. I also talked about mentorship, which is so, 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 so important, you know. And besides just being important, mentorship and all those things I talked about. Remember the other day when I was talking about emotional intelligence, I said it's different from intelligence quotient, and that emotional intelligence, your numbers, are not static. Your numbers can just undulate. It's not like IQ, whereby when you have 195 IQ, it's there. But your emotional intelligence quotient, your EQ, it can go up, it can go down. And at times when you have very, very clear mental clarity, when you have mental clarity, your EQ is usually very high. It's at a higher side. But when your mental clarity is low, it can come low. But where you are totally lacking in mental clarity, your numbers will be far below anything anybody can imagine, you know. So for you to have mental clarity, you must understand what emotional intelligence is. You must work towards enhancing your emotional intelligence, because when you can understand what your feelings are, your behavior, you understand your behavior better, you know what your triggers are, you'll see that what I said when I started, removing everything that can be counteractive, to your progress, it will be easy for you to deal with those things that cause internal conflict. Because usually external conflict just doesn't affect you so brashly as would internal conflicts. So we're able to understand the level of your emotional intelligence. When you're able to enhance it, you will see that you will begin to deal with those things that would otherwise, just bring this dark cloud over your feelings, over how you deal with things. Because I tell you, if we're not able to deal with those things that cause internal conflict, it affects our mental clarity. You can't have mental clarity when you have feelings of depression. You are combating this, feelings of dejection and things like that. So when we're able to understand what our inner conflicts are, our internal conflicts, and deal with them, then we're well on our way to gaining mental clarity. Another thing that we need to do to gain mental clarity, I've mentioned this over and over again, but one thing, sometimes it might seem as if we are being repetitive, in the way we go on and on about certain things. The fact is, the fact is that the fact is, I just need to cut this call. Sorry. The fact I need to tell them to just send. That's one thing about doing things like this, at times like this. You, it's so unscripted that when you have important calls coming in like this, you just need to deal with them. Okay, I'll do it now. So good. As I was saying, when you have to deal with your mental clarity levels, I'm telling them to send a text. Good. Just a second. Good. I've sent the text. That's good enough. Yes. So I said something I've spoken about over and over again, and it almost seems as if I'm becoming a broken record. But it's important because it just runs right through every imaginable, spectrum or level or anything you need to do to gain mental clarity. even when you're talking about what I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, on learning to relearn and all that, you must learn to be a ruthless prioritizer. You must learn to be a ruthless prioritizer. Oh, this kids, I'm in a meeting. Okay, good. You must learn to, sorry about that. You must learn to be a ruthless prioritizer. You must know, you must know, I mean, what your priorities are. You must be able to fine tune them, you know, whether you like it or not. Every process that has to do with productivity in your life, you must be able to fine tune it. Because you see, if you're not able to fine tune your plans, by the time you begin to have obstructions, you'll not be able to manage them. And that's the truth. You'll not be able to manage any obstruction that comes your way. They call it bump along the journey. You'll not be able to manage it because you have not been able to prioritize. So when you become a ruthless prioritizer, people might think, oh, you are becoming an effico, oh, you're overdoing it. No, I'm not saying you'll be obsessive. No, you will just ensure you dot your I's, you cross your T's. You would understand that once you're able to do that, you will prepare for any, unforeseen circumstance. You'll be able to manage everything that comes your way. You'll be able to act with clarity of intention. Because what happens to most of us, when we are not used to prioritizing, we don't even, we don't even think about what our intentions are in going into something. We just rush into it. But when you deal with every foreseeable or unforeseeable thing or obstruction that lies before you, because you have planned, you know what would lead to this, you know what you might likely encounter, you will see that you will begin to act with clarity of intention. When you say clarity of intention, it's just simply being very intentional and deliberate in carrying out whatever you set your mind on. Some people will call it being ruthlessly focused, but that's the truth. You must have clarity of intention, And one other thing I said the other time when I was talking about mental self-care, if you want to have mental clarity, and I will bring that up again, you must become an intentional consumer of information, not necessarily false news. No. Remember, I said yes. I talked day 21 about your choices. Whatever choices you have made, you must seek information. Seek information. Don't be that person who just rather, you're so passive. So you just passively receive information. You shouldn't be that kind of person. Because when you deliberately seek for the right information, you know what you begin to do? You see, it begin to build your sense of perspective. You begin to understand how you view something. And when you do that, you're engaging your senses, your thinking faculty, how they used to say it when we were younger, and all of that. They come into play. And for you to do that, you see that you would have to venture outside of your comfort zone. I mean, look at it as going beyond your usual sources, but because you are actively seeking information. I talked about when we're making our choices, and when you make your choice, you're not just passive. You decide, okay, I want to sell moi or whatever, or cook moi or sell okra, whatever it is you want to do. You go out to deliberately seek information from those people who are doing it already. You don't go from the unknown to known. Go from the known. So many of us, we do not have mental clarity because every time it's like we want to reinvent the wheel. If you are dealing with something that's been there before, seek information on that thing. And I bet you will have mental clarity, because as you go along the way, every information you are getting is enhancing what you have heard before. It's enhancing what you have known before. And you see that because you're now getting quality information about these things you want to do. This info you get to begin to feed your thoughts, it will determine your actions and fuel your emotions. Even going into a relationship with somebody, you need to have full disclosure. Sometimes I imagine that that's why back then in Igbo land, when somebody wants to marry somebody, they'll go and start investigating and everything. It's because they need clarity on everything. So for anything you want to do, be an intentional consumer of information. Like I said, it's not false news. Oh, you see, when you get the right information, you have the right set of tools to walk through anything you're dealing with. Another way you can get mental clarity, learn to talk through things with people. You know, talk through things with people. When you talk through things with people, the right people, understand, the right people, not just anybody. When you talk through things with people, they say a problem, how do people, they say a problem shared is a problem halved. And that's the truth. A problem shared is a problem halved. When you begin to, seek out the right set of people to talk to, when you begin to verbalize your thoughts, you know, not just your thoughts, your intentions, everything, you begin to verbalize them. You're speaking with somebody, you see that those things that would otherwise have caused you, great mental stress. There is somebody who, when you talk with the person and everything, I tell you, your understanding begins to get clearer. Your perspective begins to improve. You begin to make everything just begins to make sense. I remember one of the things about mental clarity, when you have a high level of mental clarity, remember I said it on, I think, day 21, you are able to put ambiguity in context. People that don't have mental clarity, everything about them, there's ambiguity. There is no clear cut direction in whatever it is they are doing. So you see, that's one of the things when you're able to talk through, to walk things through. They call it talking through to walk things through. When you're able to talk through to walk things through, you'll see that everything begins to fall into place. And I'm sure there's nobody here who doesn't desire for things to fall into place. There is nobody who is listening who doesn't desire for things to fall into place. But if you're that person who you will keep everything in your mind, you don't want to share it because you feel if I share, it's either they steal whatever knowledge I have or they go to town with my news. But you see, for mental clarity on issues, it doesn't matter what aspect of life that is on the front burner or is whatever it is you want to deal with or discuss or do, you must practice talking to somebody. You must practice talking to somebody. And if you do not practice talking to somebody, you might begin to find yourself, facing certain life obstacles that you could easily have overcome if you had the right person to talk to. Little wonder, for the Westerners, they have shrinks, they have therapists, they have you know, professional help that can help in, teleguiding. That's purposefully teleguiding, not just wasting one's time. Purposefully teleguiding one into the right head space. But where you don't even have such people, I said it the other day, there are support groups, people of like minds. I'm sure there's no dearth of that in our present day, not with all the technology available. If you find the right kind of people to talk to, the right kind of people to verbalize your thoughts before, you can be sure that things will not be so far reaching as they seem. So I want to encourage somebody today. We've just touched on just a few. We've talked about one, removing yourself from any external influences that pull you down and drain your energy. We have talked about becoming a ruthless prioritizer. We've talked about being an intentional consumer of information. And finally, we've talked about talking things through, to walk things through. And when you talk things through, have you ever seen where you say something and after saying it, you realize that, it wasn't so heavy after all? So I'm asking a woman, a gorgeous woman, to just take that step today. Go back to day 21. See what, you know, I had to say on day 21. Practice. Come to day 22. Practice as well. And before you know it, things will definitely look up. Things will look clearer. And like I've been saying right from the beginning of this series, 31 days is not enough for you to truly get to where you want to be. All it takes is just one day at a time. And I hope somebody will be able to embrace this. Thanks and God bless. And yeah, I kept the time today. I said 20 minutes in this last because we're actually on the home run. Today is day 23. We have day 22. We have 9 more days. So we are on the home stretch. God bless you. Good night.